Speaking of really bad, this next one, uh, I went back and forth on whether or not to include this.
Sounds like you're still hesitating.
Yeah, I think I've decided. I'm just like reluctant to actually pull the trigger. So I will I will start off by saying, and this will be for the live now. This will also be if anyone is watching this clip later on. If you are watching with kids, you will probably want to skip this portion or uh, at least watch first before, because the topic that comes up is you'll see the word is in big and bold at the very end of what's posted, but I told my wife about it before we were going on because she was asking like what all we were talking about, and I told her, and like her face was just like she thought I was joking, which I understand her thought. So we will go to, this is Protestia again, and this is an example of them finding a good thing to call out. An Episcopal church pastor says that Jesus and the Samaritan woman at the well were flirting because Jesus's use of the term living water is actually a double entendre, I think is how you say that, and a first century euphemism for male ejaculate, I guess. I don't know. I was trying to think of a way to get around YouTube.
I don't know if that helped.
I don't think there's a way to get around that, but we'll listen to this clip. It's about 2 minutes long, and I do think that this one we'll listen to the whole thing because I think you need to listen to how he sets this up, and then we're going to break this down, and we will actually go and look at the word that is used, that is translated, and see if there's anything to what he is saying at all. So.
And then Jesus turns around and says to her, "Oh, don't worry. If you knew who was asking, you'd ask for living water, and you'd have all kinds of living water," right? Which is a great line. Living water has two meanings in the ancient world. One is probably what you would imagine it would mean. Living water is water like in a clear brook or stream where there are plants growing around it. It's clean water. It's pure water. It is life-giving water. So living water is beautiful water, right? The second meaning is a little bit more problematic. Well, not problematic. It's right in line with everything else that's going on. You see, it's a pun. And this is something the Gospel of John loves to do. There's a pun in almost every story in John. So what is living water? Buckle up. Living water is a first century euphemism for semen. Good morning.
I'll go ahead and interject there. It's not. It's not. I'll let him finish this, and then we'll go. We'll actually look at this and see what is actually being said.
If you want to have real fun, we just did a class on The Sopranos, and we dropped the F-bomb about 1,000 times, I think. So God's part of all of it, friends. God's part of all of it. She thinks it is, well, the more innuendo level. Jesus is talking on a different level. And so the next line, if you know that this is an innuendo, if you know that this is a comment, is hilarious, because she literally goes, "Hey buddy, you ain't got a bucket, how you going to give me that living water?" It's funny. It's a funny line. This woman is actually, as a friend of mine said, this woman's talking trash at the well with Jesus. I didn't know that's what the story was about. But they're flirting, and they're joking, and they're teasing. And at no point does Jesus condemn her. In fact, just the opposite. He laughs, and he flirts back, and he goes, no. I'm talking about a water of life and of hope. I'm inviting you into a deeper conversation with God, but that's pretty funny. It's pretty good.
So, no. This would be the the funny time where we play something like that, and then I just put the camera on one of you and just everybody else on the screen. So we are going to go to a resource called Blue Letter Bible. It's a free resource, completely free, and it is a good resource because I'm trying to. Just a second. Should it let me? Okay. Maybe. There we go. So, Blue Letter Bible. I have it pulled up. I have it pulled up in the CSB translation, which is currently probably one of my favorites to read. But I have the interlinear pulled up. And what the interlinear does, if anyone watching is not familiar, I have this passage where he gets this from in John. So we're in John 4. This is in verse 10. Okay. And you can see this is the original Greek. Now you can go down and it shows you each word that we translate what the Greek word is. So if we go down here, now living in water is split up into two, but we can click on this here, and you can actually listen to how it's pronounced.
Strong's G 2198. Zao. Zao.
So did you guys hear that? Okay. So you can see that, but it has a lot of other information as well. It shows you other places where it appears. Oh. Outline of biblical usage. So living is to live, breathe, be among the living, to enjoy real life, to have true life worthy of a name, active, blessed. So there's a lot of stuff here. Living water, have vital power in itself and exerting the same upon the soul. Fresh, strong, efficient, powerful. So there's nothing here that even hints at anything sexual in nature. Let's go to the water portion of this. And I think everyone here is going to be surprised that it also has absolutely nothing that hints at anything sexual in nature. So this is just terrible, terrible, terrible theology, horrible exegesis. And we talked about this a little bit on the live last month, because we looked at an article and it was going over a lot of different topics, but it was specifically talking about I'm trying to remember what some of them were. It was like the percentage of evangelicals. One of them was the percentage of evangelicals that say Jesus was a created being, and it was like 72%. Like it was like really bad. But there were several things like that, and they were all really high, and it was stuff that really should not be high. And like not just a casual misunderstanding and stuff that I think very strongly will put you outside of what is considered orthodoxy, or put you outside of what is actual Christianity. This is really, really, really bad. And we're seeing a lot of this in culture today. I saw his name is James Tallarico. He is running for some political office in Texas, and I've seen him. He's making the rounds on different podcasts and late night shows and stuff, and he's claiming to be a Christian. He's running as a Democrat, and he is saying stuff like the Bible is completely silent when it comes to homosexuality. He pushes the idea that when it's referenced in the Old Testament, it's only talking about like um, a someone being forced into that type of a relationship. I do like Nate when I said homosexuality, you lifted your Cardinals hat. That's fitting. Um, sorry, I had to throw that in there. But no, he says that he says the New Testament, Jesus is completely silent on it, which isn't true. But this idea that they're taking cherry picking in the Bible, making the Bible say things that it doesn't actually say, and trying to uh, bend it into their own different, whether they be political or social views. And this isn't just I know a lot of times when we talk about this, especially as Christians, the LGBTQ stuff comes up, or abortion may be one that comes up too. This isn't just a phenomenon of the political left. We see this on the political right as well, trying to claim that Bible verses give you the authority to do something or a mandate to do something. Um, but either way, it's bad. We need to let the Bible speak for itself. Let Scripture interpret Scripture. We'll get into this a little bit deeper with our next one, and then I'll actually may have Nate, if you want. We'll do this after, or when we get into the next one. But kind of go over what you sent me too. We can maybe bring that up. But what do you guys think about this one? Who wants to tackle it first?
I think, I would first say, I think, this is pretty easy to say this is true. If this guy's your pastor, you need to run. And just like hearing him talk, and I listened to it earlier, so this was like the second time I'd heard it. What is he trying to, what point is he trying to make with this? Is he trying to prove that it's okay to have inappropriate conversations with one another? Or even, when listening this time, I'm thinking like, is he trying to prove, that like he can have conversations, as the pastor with people that are flirtatious or whatever? Is he trying to, in a way, manipulate his congregation, to say, if, like, Jesus did it, it's okay. Listen to that this time, like, I maybe kind of got that impression. And
I hadn't thought about that, but that's a good point.
You say like, yeah, it's just, it blows my mind. Like, how do you even get there? I really don't understand what point you're trying to prove by making that statement, and like you said, like you have shown, Jesse, that's not true. So what got you there? What good does that do as you shepherding your congregation?
Golly. And like, well, the first thing that popped into my head when I saw that, I was like, that's whack. Like, that was like in my young mind, like I was like, that's just whack. But the second thing was that, it's sad, right? Because those people in their congregation are being misled like that, and they're hearing that. And what if they go out and share that, right? Like, that's a scary thought. Especially from again, because it goes back. all this really ties in together. Like with it, if you're trying to lead people, right? Like if you're sharing that is, I don't know, but like, listen, if I was not a Christian, that would turn me off instantly. I'd be like, excuse me, what are you talking? Like I'd be like, absolutely not. And again, that's just twisting Scripture in a really, really, really messed up way. And the fact that you proved it like that, you proved it right then and there. And people would be like, oh yeah, he's right. No, he's not. He's not right. And
there claims like this, it really does not take very much effort to debunk them. Like, really, really does not take very much at all. So personally, my first thought, which I do think, Nate, the point you brought up was an interesting one. I hadn't thought about that before. But I think another interesting possibility, kind of where my mind was going, was, is he trying to make the Bible more like sound better to people? Is he trying to use that conversation that Jesus had, lie about what it said, in order to kind of the inverse of what we saw in the opening one, where the pastor was trying to bring conviction to people that were living in sin? He's trying to do the reverse of that, and like, no, like, it's not that big of a deal, like, it's, but also, like, maybe just make people think that not only is it's not that it's not bad that you're in sin, this really isn't even sin. And it kind of ties I think into what we see with oh the serpent in the garden. Well, did God really say? And so just getting them to question a little bit, and even there we see this. I think it really ties into, we've talked about this a few times, but being okay with having questions answered, being able to go and find the answer to things, not being afraid of your beliefs being scrutinized. Because I mean, ultimately, if we have truth, then it's going to hold up. If we don't, if what I believe is not true, then I don't want to believe it. I want someone to show me that it's wrong, so that way I'm not wasting my time. I don't I don't stick to my beliefs just because that's how I was raised, just because that's what my parents believe. Like, I've maybe at one point in time that's where I was. I have dug into this. I have looked at other religions. I have even, I mean, I've got other books sitting on top of it, so I don't know how easily I can get it out. But I have a New World Translation. I brought this up, I think, in the last one. Holy Scriptures. This is the Mormon, or the book of Jehovah's Witness Bible. I have that on my desk because I'm trying to. So with a lot of Mormons and Jehovah's Witness, if you're going to show them that they believe incorrectly, you have to be able to show them with their own material. And so I ended up coming across that. It actually used to belong to my great grandmother. I found out was a Jehovah's Witness. And so I'm digging into that and finding places that I can show them from their own text that what they believe is actually not true. Anyways, but going into places and allowing your views to be scrutinized is good, and it will sharpen what your beliefs are. Unless they're not true, and then it'll show you that they're not true. So we shouldn't be afraid of questions like that. Even, I brought up the example of the garden, looking at Eve. In this kind of ties into this too. Like, we need to not say that things are sin that are not actually sin. We can say that things are unwise, and we can. I just blanked. Not coach. We can suggest people don't do the things. I think another example, I remember seeing this a few years back, and I thought it was interesting that the command to not eat the fruit was never given to Eve. It was given to Adam. And Adam told Eve, don't eat the fruit, don't even touch it. And so then Eve went and she touched the fruit first. And so I think she was told, don't touch it. She touched it. That was the easier action. So that made the next action that was actually the bad thing even more wrong. Tying this all back together, I think it's telling that it's important to make sure that we are sticking to what we actually can stand on in Scripture. We're not going to other places and other things. We are actually sticking to what we can stick to in Scripture. I was going to make another point, and I just completely lost it in whole rant that I just went on. Do you guys have anything else you want to throw out with this one?
I think this is really like a clear example of, like, if you go into either you're trying to find something in the Bible or even just reading a story and you have a particular agenda in your head or something you want to prove, you're going to find any way to prove it. And I don't know exactly what this guy's agenda was, but he probably went into it trying to prove something. And he may have, I don't know what he would have found to be able to make himself believe that, but you're going to find any way possible to prove your belief system if it's something that you think. And, kind of just really just in reference to what you said, Jesse, that like we can't go into reading the Bible with preconceived notions of what to think. It's not sinful to do it and let yourself be transformed by what you read. But if you're going in it to prove your point, you're going to be able to twist anything to make that point be proven.
So, to just as an example, I mentioned that all of the stuff really it doesn't take much looking into. Like, I mean, you guys saw, I pulled it up. It took like 5 minutes to see that what he was saying was not actually accurate, or like really thinking through. There's a lot of claims that are made that sound really strong, like really strong evidence, but when you actually think about it, they're not. And this is one I was going to bring up. So one that I've heard several times before is that homosexuality was not even included in the original Bible. The word homosexuality wasn't added to the Bible until like the 1300s. And you're like, oh, wow, like that's kind of crazy. But then, like, you really think about it, that makes sense because the Bible wasn't translated into English until the 1300s. And so, like, no English words were in the Bible until the 1300s. So there's a lot of stuff like that. That's just, if you hear something that sounds like a wild claim, just sit and think about it for a minute. Go back to scripture and evaluate what is actually being said. There's, like I said, Blue Letter Bible is a completely free resource. There's also, I can't remember what it's called. I haven't used it in a while. But it's, I'll put a link to it, whatever it is, if I remember. But it's another, you can get a free version, but they have paid versions too. And they have a lot of Logos Bible software. They have a lot of, you can get like different books from people. So like, as an example, I was a little while back, I wrote a book on the fruit of the Spirit. And one of the things that I used in writing that was Martin Luther's commentary on the book of Galatians. And I was able to pull it up in there, and I had his commentary side by side with the actual Bible, and I was able to read through it, what the Bible said, and then see right next to that what he was saying. And so there's a lot of free resources that you can get like that really make studying significantly easier than what it would have been 10 years ago even. So there's really not an excuse to just jump onto stuff like this. We need to stop being lazy Christians.